Uh-oh, it's me, the text-to-speech program that Ty likes to type into whenever he wants to make a point or correction but is too lazy to do himself, and I am here to break the immersion right before the video begins. I would like to give a slight warning that for some reason the live-action audio sounds bad. It's not completely unbearable, but you're gonna hear some slight crackling and maybe some audio peaking whenever you see my stupid face. I wouldn't usually make a big deal about this, but this was the only opportunity to record those bits and I tried to fix the audio as best as I could, and to be honest I'm a little miffed it sounds like this, but yikes, wow. I want to get an on-camera mic sooner than later just so I can prevent this from maybe happening again, and plus it would sound so much nicer and be much less of a hassle to get some good goddamn audio, Jesus Christ. Anyways, enjoy the video you goofies. Or don't.
Oh, hey losers. You see, between the last video and now, I've been doing some digging and I've been getting one step closer to basic witchcraft. You see, I wanted to start off with the classic Bloody Mary tactic you find on Reddit, but Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary, Bloody Mary. Who's that? There's potential. Now, I'll admit my reasons are a little selfish. You see, I'm a gamer, right? But I've had enough of real life. I want to go into fake life right over there, and the only places I have in mind are in this. Now, I have tried to make my calls specifically towards these games. Come on! It backfired immediately, and I can't say f or sh now. But I finally realized my problem. I apparently need a Bloody Mary. I don't feel like making one, but that is where compromises come in. This will work! And now all I gotta do is say the good word. Get the hell over here! Oh my god, he's white!
Are you ready?
Well, it's been over a year and I guess someone wanted this. The best list may have been hard to rank, but this one was even harder. To be a bad boss in my eyes, you can do just about anything wrong. Be a broken mess of code, be underwhelming, be too short, come from Hotel Mario, be boring. Really, if there's little to no enjoyment to be had for any reason, it's eligible for this list. I kinda already made 2 different versions of worst bosses lists of games in general, so who's to say no to a third blood clot? I said this in the best list, but because of the nature of its games to where even a 3-year-old or a 300-year-old can play Mario games and likely find enjoyment or at least understand them, it leaves a lot of different options for what can be considered a bad boss depending on who you are. I think because of this, anyone can make a case for any of these bosses not being so bad, so I want to raise awareness that a lot of this is going to be pure hyperbolic virgin speech. These bosses may not be as bad as I'm going to make them out to be. Hell, I've had to split so many hairs trying to decide my ranking, but it's fun to scream at things. So please try to understand where I'm coming from here. I don't want to hear about how you asked out your girlfriend through the final boss of Mario Galaxy 2. This is my opinion, please respect it. We're starting off with the final boss of Mario Galaxy 2. Hey, remember in the best list where I said I almost put the Bowser fights from Mario 1 had I made my list a decade ago? Well, this fight was gonna be on that list too, but where exactly? No. Yeah, that one! I guess back then when I beat Galaxy 2 for the first time, I was over how the fight went, but I didn't want to admit that because I really loved the music and the set piece of the fight, so I wanted to try everything I could to enjoy it. And I did for a bit, clearly, but then I thought about it and I felt again, and here we are. Although I put this on my best list, so give me time to conform. And the comes more from the fact that this fight stinks a little, because the level prior, hell, the entire game was really damn good, and the prior Bowser fights had a case of mediocrity, so I was hoping for something awesome by the end of the final level. We start with the third version of the same lame fight as before. Neat. But then an obvious fake out happens and oh wow, my eyes and ears are loving the But let's be real, ground pounding a bunch of meteors at Bowser sounds really cool. At least it would be if it wasn't what we just did 2 seconds ago, so I guess Nintendo thought, we haven't fucked up all too often, check this out! It's the same thing, only Bowser's using the power of the last Grand Star, and it's over. Mario games have a reputation for ending its fights after you do a thing 3 times, but guess what? It's 4 now.
What?
And even after you fail to keep your distance from Bowser, he'll punch the meteor you stand on. And then you'll just fall to the next one, and it'll even heal you by dropping a coin. So the only challenge this fight poses is losing. Credit where it's due, fighting a giant loser in front of a black hole is awe-inspiring, which is somehow less so than the music. This song is among the best tracks in the entire series. Let's take a bit to listen to this fight from start to finish. Say what you will about a guy who looks like this, but he has a mighty kill count. Even if the arts of black magic never work out, I can at least control the portly red plumber, so I too can smack around mighty foes like Bowser, Zekrom, Boulder Man, Tiny Child's Toys, what the hell, and most threatening of all, geometry? 5 worlds in on this 3D Mario game for the Wii U, and the boss is a saltine cracker with feet. Why is this stupid, you may ask? Well, if I may ask, do you have eyes? King Ka-Thunk is just 2 squares for a boss fight. Granted, it's pretty cool how the main body is separated from the hands and frame, but let's also be fair and say Chinese water torture is based on a good drink. I like coming up with positives for stupid fucking shit. Okay, design some Mario bosses vary wildly. After all, we had a rectangle for a boss in the very first 3D Mario game, so going forward, it's silly to expect a Culex for every iteration after. But if I can look at this goofy-ass, stone-ass, king-ass, wump-idiot-ass that just slams himself on the ground like a doofus, and whose main motivation that he's sick of people stepping on the concrete like him, and was a boss in a game released at launch on a console released in the mid-1990s, is more challenging than this? How? At least Womp King is huge and can actually get you if you aren't in a good position to dodge. Again, this is a saltine. At least Womp King needs a good jump to get on top of him and a ground pound to hit him and not a dinky little jump. King Ka-Thunk gets hit by a dinky little jump. At least the ground doesn't glow when he's about to land. Okay, in Galaxy 2 it does that too, but that just means it's even more hilarious that the N64 version is a less hand-holdy fight. Oh no, he deletes a part of the terrain. It's still over. And hell, when you're not slapping around this pushover, you're just boringly waiting for a boring long time for this boring boss to boringly land the right way. No, it's better than being completely irritating, but let's also be fair, we wouldn't have a worse list if that wasn't gonna happen. So the bosses in Mario 64 aren't all that great, right? Picking on these fights is like talking shit about this old stump in my backyard. Look at this fucking idiot! Like, technically speaking, sure, these fights are lame, but think about what these fights were like in the 90s for when this game was recent. Too bad I can't because I was too busy not being aborted, but on the surface, there's some interesting stuff here, and you really have to do more than just jump on a boss 3 times to defeat it. You can lift and throw a man, ground pound, punch them, jump on it like you would a lame 2D boss. Man. There's sticking to your roots, and then there's fuck. I drown your stupid home and my reward's a bad boss fight? What the hell? My nihilism has consequences, I can't believe it. Okay, fine, I wasn't responsible and destroyed someone's home in the process. Do you have any idea how many times I've said that this week? And once again, the solution is to kill the man that owns the house. Nothing better than a martyr. Well, he's not gonna go down without a fight, and by fight, I mean just running around doing nothing. All the other fights are just varying levels of walking, but at least they all do things that are like, you know, a danger. I get that there's a lot to expect out of a this, but remember that a this can do that, and guess what doesn't happen in this fight?
Actually that happens in the DS version, but to be fair this was 8 years later and Wigglers were even still an established enemy back then.
He just runs around, supposedly gets angrier the more you hit it, but all that amounts to is running faster and maybe doing a jump. And speaking of hitting it, all you have to do is just jump on it, and even that feels lame. There's no impact to your jumps. Just by looking at this, I'm not even convinced I'm even doing damage, but yep, lasting impressions are being made here. And that's all there is. Doing 3 weak-ass jumps and the fight's over. Wow, you should be a boss fight in a Mario game or something. It's like arson, but replace the fire with water and the lawsuit with a collectible. This blows. Bowser, for the love of God's Jesus, get a better contractor. You have any idea how many times Bowser's tried the whole kill switch behind me so I can kill Mario, but my stupid, dumb, stupid turtle face never activates his on time oof tactic? Hell, oftentimes he doesn't even try to go for it, he just tries to take you head on because remember, this is 1983 and you are playing a video game. To his credit, Bowser's a tough cookie, like I can eat him and he'll still be back somehow, and maybe he just never anticipates Mario's athletic capabilities to hit the switch on time. So what's this? It's one thing having a dinky little switch that ends the fight, but it's another when the entire fight is based on an environment that only serves to hinder the boss. Bowser from Super Mario Bros. 3 is what we like to call a... So the name of this fight is enduring Bowser's fire breath until he jumps at you, but you then find out that the block terrain breaks when he lands on it. Avoid all his attacks until you trick him to land on the terrain placed above the cliff, and he falls and that's it. You can't even hurt him unless you have a Firefly or Hammer Bros suit, and even then those will just end the fight early. Oh, but it's okay if you don't have either power-up, it's just boring. You only really have to stand in 2 places total, and jump in place a couple times, and he can't hit you once. Sure, the timing of the jump and descent can hit you if you aren't careful. I'll admit a funny quirk about this fight is that you can still die even after you kill Bowser. You still have to make it to that door and you can still fall into that pit. It's pretty funny seeing that happen, but let's be serious. If you fell there accidentally, you probably deserved it. Also, this ending text. Moving on.
Mario! How dare you disturb my family vacation?
Have you ever had an ulcer on your brain? Super Mario Sunshine spends its entire game building up to the climactic showdown between you and the Shadow Fucko, and he just so happens to be Bowser Jr. in disguise. Okay, nice, Bowser fucked, cool. And one aneurysm on a boat later, you're fighting him in a bathtub. It's wacky, yes, but the fight is lame and kinda glitchy, and another use the terrain to kill the boss that built said terrain kind of fight. And I almost put it on this list. But do you remember what I said last year in that best list? Even though the worst Bowser Jr. fights are nowhere near as bad as the worst Bowser fights, unless you count this, which honestly, I don't want to consider it for any criteria ever. Any criteria just so happens to work in both ways. Awesome. But I'm curious, what if instead of Bowser, it's some goopy, nondescript enemy, and instead of a bathtub, it's on concrete? And I would want the fight to be really good and only fight it once. Actually, never mind. I wish it was boring and I had to fight it 5 times. You see, Nintendo can deliver on the things I want. You guys just need to be grateful. Apparently this is a polluted piranha? No, that's a skin disease. And like a disease, it doesn't know when to fuck off. Wait for it to open its mouth and spray water on it. Nothing like a frat party at Mario Sunshines. It's a pretty effective tutorial boss and a practical application on how to aim with FLUDD, and it actually looks kind of cool. Well, guess what? Nintendo liked it way more than I did, so let's do it 4 more times and worse. It looked nice and colorful and vibrant and cool at first, but with later fights we get oil and oil shit. There are also these goofies that will occasionally hinder you, but that's all they do. Hinder your progress and distract you. But hey, check this out. By the 4th time you fight this abomination, there's a twist. First you spray it 3 times, and then you do it again. It's like if Hitler died and immediately said, psych, I'm back. And like Hitler, this stupid idiot will fucking die. I, for one, liked New Super Mario Bros. 2. Sure, it was a lazy cash grab of the modern 2D Mario formula, but I'll take it as a lazy cash grab of a good game series. And sure, the coins amount to diddly dick, but listen, I grew up on Pokemon, and I would deliberately level up as many Pokemon as I could to the max level with little payoff, so I, for one, enjoy grinding in games. Side note, did you know that grinding in games is French for virginity? I liked grabbing a billion coins, so I expected the bosses in this game to take advantage of that, no? It's like they looked at giant baby Bowser from Yoshi's Island and how he was in the background, so they decided, wowie, let's do it again. They did. Whereas that fight was intense, snappy, not an auto-scroller, this one was boring, slow, and auto-scroller. Doesn't help that Bowser swings like a drunk deadbeat dad and breathes
fire
like your drunk deadbeat dad. Because of how slow all of Bowser's attacks are, there's no danger. Obviously, the music that was ripped from New Super Mario Bros. Wii and the dark grunge of the castle in the interior made it seem like this is some threatening fight that you need to urgently evade all of Bowser's attacks and desperately reach the end. You know, like how it was in the Wii version. Here's the difference. The Bowser fight from the Wii version is good. Sure, I'm desperate to get to the end, but not because this is a threatening battle, it's because I'm so bored. Like, ooh, later sections have fireballs. Neat. And oh, the Star World, you have to do the exact same fight again, but it's dry Bowser. Thank God this game was $40 at launch. And it ends with another means of using Bowser's shitty castle planning against him. Stop! Oh boy, if you're accustomed to videos made by this, then this is the time in the list where I like to get real fucky and bend my own rules. These are my scripts and I can cheat all I want. You see, instead of one fight, this is a bunch of them, and they all come from different games, most of which I've already talked about. Yeah, these videos live by 1 per whatever rule, but let me ask you just one thing. What is this? I mean, in Mario 3, Boom Boom was a fairly serviceable at best mid-world boss, but funnily enough, was less threatening than some common enemies. 3 hits to preserve your right to keep playing, and all he does is wave his arms around, hide in spikes, sometimes he has wings. But whatever, it was only in 1 game. God forbid if Nintendo put it in Super Mario 3D Land, New Super Mario Bros. U, Super Mario 3D World, Super Mario Run, Super Mario Maker 2, Dr. Mario? Yeah, I don't think Boom Boom's all that interesting to warrant this. Say what you will about the oversaturation of the Koopalings, but at least they all have fun designs that make for somewhat unique boss fights. This is just a fat Koopa with anchor arms. At least when the Koopalings made the return, it was really cool seeing them back again because they were fun. Nobody cared about Boom Boom when he came back, and while I'm being real nasty to the Boom Boom fan community, it's the same every time. He just runs around at you, and you have to wait around in between each chance to hit him. This is boring. There's more challenge with the environment than the actual boss. In Mario U, he returns to his 2D roots, which is just code for jumping around a bunch. He got big one time, and he got wings, but that's it. I mean, in 3D World, he turned invisible and cloned a shell. But at this point, I stopped giving a shit. Boom Boom's character design and boss design is just way too generic. And the fact that Nintendo decided to make him a mainstay is disappointing. But given it was the early 3DS and Wii U era, I'm not surprised. I mean, how the hell can you make him more interesting? What? Oh no, that's a woman! Okay, Super Mario Galaxy, let's talk man to video game for a sec. Why did you not stop with the spooky themed bosses at Bouldergeist? That fight was amazing and made sure the spooky aesthetic didn't overstay its welcome. But sure, fine, whatever. You're a video game, I'm a stupid. The least you can do is make the other spooky fight good, right? It's like raising children. The first one's awesome, the second one's a shitty boss fight. Say hello to Kingfin, or as I like to call it. Underwater levels in Mario games are funky because they're either aids to control, introduce a mechanic that circumvents the aids, or are designed where the aids are a supplemental feature rather than the main act. If there's anything nice I can say about even the worst Mario levels, is that the linearity makes it so that you know where you need to go and get there ASAP. Not much to screw around in. Having a boss fight that takes place underwater could be good in practice. What stinks about this is that it emphasizes the worst traits of an underwater section on top of having a shitty fight. Yes, video game, I want to take the Koopa shells and attempt to hit the giant fish idiot, even though chances are it's gonna miss because the shells go in a line and the boss swims in an arc, but I need to deal with the clunky movement and go out of my way to fill up my air meter first. I mean, it's not like Kingfin's gonna do anything to me anyway. He just swims around and summons his cronies to home in on me. And any of the spook factor comes from when we just so happen to run into each other. I talked about boring fights before, oh, but this is boring, but spooky. And I swear to Christ, out of all the fights I talked about, this is the one time I wanted to end in 3 hits. Kingfin takes 5.
Oh, that takes it right there!
All these bosses so far have been from the main series, so you may be wondering, where the heck are the spin-offs? And that's a fair question, but what do you expect out of most of these? For a brand as diverse as Mario that can easily transition to multiple genres, there's not a lot of room for boss fights, let alone bad ones. At worst, they're mediocre. I mean, the only way I can personally be pissed enough to deem a boss top 2 worthy in a list full of shitfuck is if they establish gameplay bits that break away from the main formula to completely change how you play the game for specific boss fights and do it badly. I have got to stop predicting this shit! I have reason to put just about any of these giant battles on this list because they all share the exact same problems I have. They're clunky as f***. A lot of the actions you have to do have such strangely strict timing, and more often than not, you're not going to get excellence, which results in not getting most of the amount of damage per turn, thus resulting in these already long fights taking even longer. Oh yeah, all these fights are super long. Yay! It's always take turn doing a thing, then partake in 80 QTs before the next turn, and they all have long pauses of everyone going back to position till the next thing happens. Like, yes, we're both giant, but it feels like an excuse for everything to be super slow. Like, personally speaking, I get a better glimpse of scale if the boss I'm fighting is still way larger than me. Here, I'm just bored. Length also not helped that every single fight feels like a tutorial. Dreambird always pops in like, look at this thing you're watching, now rub the screen in a circle, you idiot! Ironically enough, the first giant boss in the game is the best one because there's the least amount of bullshit, and the tutorial-like gameplay is still justified because it's the first one. So why the hell does Z-Keeper get the spot? The section that uses the 3DS gyroscope? Yeah, that's it. Gyro on the 3DS, let alone in Dream Team, is abysmal. All of your actions take so slow to start up and take forever to stop, and because I have to move the system a bunch, it's hard to see, for me at least. Oh, and the gyros can even glitch, that's neat. Sure, all the fights technically have gyros, but they at least end the fight. This one just begins my aneurysms.
Well, before we find out who's the most bastardly boss in all of Mario, I have a chunk of bosses I wanted to talk about, but couldn't really bring myself to talk about them for 2 whole minutes. So, here's some dishonorable mentions.
Bowser from Super Mario Run. Yes, it's a mobile game where the only control input is tapping the screen to make Mario do the funny thing, but I find it kind of ridiculous that you can get hit and still just pass on through them, thus eliminating any sense of timing the fight challenges you for. In the other modern 2D Mario games, if you get hit, you'll be bounced back, which at least adds some tension and makes you use some of your brain. The final Bowser is easy too. Wart from Super Mario Bros. 2. It is really weird how the final boss is defeated by throwing veggies in his mouth, but come on, the whole game is weird. This is awesome. No, what sucks is that the fight never fucking ends. Boo losses from Luigi's Mansion for being a shit cunt whore fuck. Bowser Jr. from New Super Mario Bros. For basically being a Boom Boom 2, but at least Bowser Jr.'s purpose in the Mario universe is more than a dinky mid-world fight, and at least makes somewhat interesting changes the further you continue. Roger the Potted Ghost from Yoshi's Island. My D-pad's married to my thumb. Cookateel from Super Mario Odyssey. This one was on the list for a bit because I don't really find fighting it to be all that fun, but I replayed Odyssey again not long before this video's upload, and it doesn't really warrant a spot on a list like this, but it's still my least favorite fight in the game. I don't even... What? Oh, okay. And finally, Bowser from Super Mario Sunshine. It's stupid and... Wait, there's still no criteria I feel like warranting for this. King Boo. And now for death. I really have been picky throughout this entire list, but there was one fight that without a doubt couldn't be anywhere but the top for me. If there's anything anything I can give these other stupid fights. At the very least, you could hold me to gunpoint, and deep down, I would tell you these bosses are somewhat threatening. Like, sure, we talked about squares and wigglers prior, but you could tell they at the very least wanted you dead. And I don't mind fights where you have to chase down something cowardly, at least in theory. I mean, if it works, it works. But of all the things I played in this goofy-ass video game series made for kids, the one to boil my blood, sweat, and piss the most was a fucking train. What the hell? This is the shit you would find Hitler in command of. The Fawful Express is the kind of boss that frequents the source.com's page for bad. The name of the game is to try to kill the stupid train before it gets away, or else your fat fuck self is gonna plummet and die. You start off with 100 kilometers. Just kidding, the train moves before you even make your first move, and you start with 87. Why? If you're gonna outline an objective, don't just stupidly take it away from me. I want to beat the train CPU, no bullshit. And that's the core of the problem. Bullshit. You're allowed so many screw-ups without taking, at best, a good chunk of your health, or at most, death. The Fawful Express will try to drive closer to the bridge and retaliate with Choombas, which are not essential, but will also hide behind a spiky mountain that you have to tap your DS screen really fast to break. Not your screen, the mountain, just so we're clear. Or else, Jesus! And will also hide behind a living grass mountain that will heal itself and try to push you back. Oh, but that's not the worst part. The only way to do damage is to use Bowser's Fire Breath, which you need to blow into the DS's microphone. Fitting that having to use the microphone would be totally be fucking abysmal. It is so finicky and inconsistent on what qualifies as getting the best hit. Every single playthrough, it takes me numerous attempts to beat this boss, because the game can't register what the hell makes for a good attack, and you have to be near perfect each and every time, or else it's death. All these other fights may be boring or just really stupid, but at least there's room for error. Most of the time, you know damn well when you're gonna fail very early on, so you have to either just try and desperate brain to make up for it, or sit through the rest of the fight, or try to lose on purpose, or risk having to waste more time sitting through all the cutscenes again. It's fuck. Now the remake fixed the fire breath thing, and that's neat, but now it's just really easy and really boring.
You know what, that's it. I'm fed up. These bosses have given me a severe case of side annoyance. I'm tired of this. I'm going to give that stupid red idiot what for. And I know just the word to call on him. Mario. You have a stupid nose. Well, that was stupid, but hey, thanks for watching. It took a long time for this video to come out, but to be fair, I never spent the entire year and a half working on it. Clearly, I had other videos I wanted to make, and also I was too busy getting all things this. Now, if I can be a little personal here, this might actually be my last video in this house. I've talked about this maybe a couple times on Twitter, but over the years my family has been working on building a new house that's a lot more closer to other family. And finally it's almost done. I'm gonna miss this place. It's where I lived most of my life, and I've been in this room in particular making stupid videos for a little over 6 years now. And I'm gonna be going somewhere else soon. That's so wild. So by the time I release my next video, come December of this year or December of 2022, you might see me in a new place. Or not. Or maybe I'll feel like making something else and I'll just render this whole thing moot. I don't care. But that's enough out of me. Here's some usual outtakes. I'm gonna take a nap. Bloody Mary. Bloody Mary. That's trying too hard, idiot. Come on! I need new tape, actually. Well, before we find out who's the most dastardly, bastardly boss in all of... Nope. I'm done.